My mother always told me that there's power within your name. And I can't say that growing up I always believed her. As a matter of fact, I was kind of shy, awkward, and because of my heritage, I really didn't embrace my name. I wanted to be like everybody else. It wasn't until I got to high school that I fully embraced who I was, embraced my heritage, being African. I'm Osei the Dark Secret. With so much excitement surrounding the World Cup, there's an increased interest in Africa. Africa is seemingly the last frontier in a sense, and it's a destination that is in need of much. But it's also an incredibly rich resource, most of which are surprisingly untapped. When the question was posed about increasing revenue, I thought of it as an appropriate time to speak on those untapped resources. In an era where foresight and vision is a must, it's imperative that we think and live creatively, not only outside the box, but also outside of the United States. One important acknowledgement that many of us, particularly in America, take for granted is the fact that we live in a global economy. Events that take place in one part of the globe certainly have a way of impacting our way of life in our respective cities or states. I believe that V103 and many other media outlets are now faced with similar choices. Either you stay at the head of the class or you flunk out miserably. You have to find new ways to create revenue. If handled creatively and in a timely fashion, we too can stand to reap the many benefits that come with being trailblazers. I truly believe that V103 can redefine radio's influence and the way the music industry thinks. Not to mention, this is a business model we can share with others and monetize as well. The African and Caribbean communities have what I consider to be an invisible face. Many in those communities feel as if they don't exist or they're not represented. The first way to correct that is inclusion. Radio's first line of defense has always been endearing itself to the community and the community's issues. One thing that is very important in the African and Caribbean communities is the ability to help their families abroad and loved ones and staying connected to the culture. One way to support this is to create an international spotlight page on the V103 web mag. This international spotlight page will be home to many of the issues that they and their loved ones face and highlight events in their communities, and it shows them that they are important and a part of our listening audience. By doing this, it's very much like tapping into our core demo of 18 to 34, 25 to 54 Black women. Now, by tapping into the demo, we tap into the households. It's important in redefining what the People Station means that we identify with who our audience currently is. It's international. We are now at close to 6 million individuals here in the Atlanta metropolitan area. There are many organizations that we can tap into. The Ethiopian community, the Nigerian Wives Association, the Kimbe Mutombo and his humanitarian efforts. He's been recognized by the White House. He's also a resident of Atlanta. The business model in entertainment is completely different from what it was 5 years ago. How do you monetize your brand? I personally don't feel that A&Rs and record labels are equipped to do the things that they used to. They simply duplicate what they hear instead of going out and creating and embracing the necessary changes. Most skilled program directors are better equipped to tell artists what they need to do to have broader appeal. In my overseas travel, I've come to understand that artists can make 10 times the amount of money that they can domestically. Imagine Ja Rule making $250,000 in Africa versus how much would he make here? But the mentality that many have in the urban community is that it's easier to become a hood star and have that local familiarity than to jump outside of your comfort zone and explore new territory.
MTV Jams is programmed by an African brother by the name of Tumu.
He took a chance on an artist. He goes by the name of Kanan, with a video that simply exploded. Kanan is Somalian with Canadian roots and is truly much bigger internationally than Drake. So much so that Coca-Cola for the World Cup made his song, Wave Your Flag, part of its $320 million marketing campaign. World music is certainly solidifying a place. Whether you have a blue-collar job or work in a white-collar profession, or perhaps you're just simply in the hood or hustling. The children are listening to Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, and many more. Can you imagine if V and Dave FM partnered to do a world music festival somewhere in Atlanta? Odunde is an African-inspired festival and probably one of the biggest events I've seen in the city of Philadelphia. Vendors come from across the country, similar to FSO. This in Atlanta would blow the African and Caribbean community and community at large away. And I'm sure tourism would jump tenfold. With the help from visionaries like Andrew Young, I'm sure he would also appreciate this. Our international spotlight page could highlight this and our sponsorships, perhaps from MTN, Delta, Coke, DHL. Not to mention, we have the ability to highlight African and Caribbean artists on the page that may not have made our airwaves. Imagine if we allowed them to be critiqued by many of the national and international recording acts that are right here in Atlanta, and our listeners could participate and watch this. Perhaps Skype could be a potential sponsor. Lastly, as we attempt to introduce reggae and international music, perhaps we can have a 1 hour hosted by myself, Boo, and Akon. Sometimes it's the individuals introducing the product that make it easier to digest. The Nigerian film industry is a business that brings in hundreds of millions of dollars a year and is second in the world to Bollywood. While the DVD market here in the US is on the decline, it's booming over there. They once asked me to participate in DC with the Nigerian Film Awards. I think this is something we could bring to Atlanta and find a home for, just like the BET Hip Hop Awards. Make it an annual event and make serious dollars. The last platform I'd like to mention is fashion. Atlanta is certainly known as a highly fashionable city. It has a fashion week. The international aspect of fashion makes Atlanta a very attractive place, along with the number of celebrities, entertainers, and athletes that reside here. We could easily highlight and elevate this scene. Akon has 2 lines, one being convict clothing, the other being Alium, his high-end line, of which I'm sure he would love to participate and could even help us lead the charge and generate revenue by bringing in sponsors both internationally and domestically to take part in this. I'm in the process of working on an international version of Rip the Runway with Akon and his business partner Bab, who started the line. We're going to present this to BET. Stan McCurl is a resident of Atlanta, former GM of Mercedes-Benz Buckhead. He's also Nigerian. His father is one of the most well-known and well-respected actors and artists in Nigeria.
Stan writes a fashion column for the biggest newspaper in Nigeria. He could easily be writing for our international spotlight page on V103 Webback.
In conclusion, I'm sure I've exceeded my one thought per break. One individual can have such a dynamic impact on a particular group or audience. I think that V as a whole can have that same impact by taking the lead. As we all know, if used correctly, change can be a very powerful platform.